Ala, abay gaguhan ano. Kagabi maayos pa ito. Bakit ito ganito ngayon? Ginagot ang mga to. Patay kayo sa neck. Sana habulin nyo. Binabo nyo si Liza, oh. Sinira pa.
You don't need to be a celebrity to be a podcaster. What you need to be is a storyteller. Someone who thinks in audio because you want to create an experience for your listeners. Like using music to make a point. Or planning the story arc of multiple episodes. Or taking a 2-hour interview and distilling it to 20 minutes of key insights. If this sounds nerdy, well, it is. We talk to experts who can nerd out about a topic, and we get nerdy about production too.
I'm Mark, and I can make people sound like they're in a car, at a basketball game, even in outer space.
Carl here. When I'm not working on the business side, sometimes I get to record music for our audio beds.
I'm Pam of the Philippine Daily Inquirer. With PumaPodcast, I dug through 30 years of our archives to write the award-winning True Crime Pod Super Evil.
Ako si Macy. I started out as a junior producer. Now, I produce and host my own show.
PumaPodcast kami. Kayo na rin!
Yun na nga,
Hindi na
nagulat ako.
ABS-CBN ang pangalan ng company na babalikan mo.
Ano pala?
ABC-CNN.
GIGIL is passion. We give our all to create ideas that solve business problems, slaving as much over a flyer as we do over a film. We're invested in our client's business as though it were our own. We make things and make things happen. GIGIL is brave. We do work that scares brands, which is a good thing, because if clients want good, unexpected business results, they wouldn't get those by producing expected ads. Fortune favors the brave, and the riskiest thing brands can do is play safe. GIGIL is for a David with ambitions of slaying a Goliath, or a Goliath who hasn't forgotten how it was to be a David. GIGIL is true. No scam. We win with real work. Work that really sells and becomes part of pop culture. GIGIL is Filipino and is a word that curiously can't be translated into any other language. Some say it means the overwhelming feeling of wanting to squeeze something. And that's the sort of thing we want to create. Work that delights, angers, activates. Work that's equal to the best of the worlds. Because it's Filipino. GIGIL is fun. Well, just say our name to yourself. Fun, Filipino, true, brave, and all passion. GIGIL.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're watching. I'm Caitlin Magtoto, the Program Officer of Asia Society Philippines, and welcome to Trese, a Creative and Cultural Milestone. Filipinos have been behind the scenes shaping the future of Filipino creativity and culture. From designing iconic productions to showcasing Filipino artists globally, Filipinos have always been at the forefront of shaping Filipino creativity and culture. Hi everyone. Sorry about that. Internet, technical difficulties. So as I was saying, today we talk about one landmark project that carried not only the Filipino identity and culture, but Filipinos in its creation, development, production, and advertising. Trese. It is also the first Filipino comic series to become a Netflix original. On June 11th, in its first 24 hours of release on Netflix, it soared to the top one spot, showing us and the world that when the Filipino creative community is given a platform to bring together all their creative powers, the result can be nothing less than an artistic success. Trese is an all around modern Filipino masterpiece that has conquered and has shown our culture, the Filipino culture, in anime form and has paved the way for greater recognition of Filipino artists here and abroad. With its reach, what cultural impact does Trese leave for us, and how does the project empower the Filipino creative industries? For those questions, you'll have to stay tuned for the answers as our host and moderator for today, Mr. Carljoe Javier, the CEO of PumaPodcast, together with our guests, Mr. Jojo Aguilar, the art director of Netflix's Trese, and Mr. Herbert Hernandez, the founding partner of GIGIL, the Ideas Company, the team behind its advertising. Take us through our program today. Feel free to join the conversation by sending in your thoughts, comments, or questions in the comment section. I see there are a lot of people already in. And on behalf of our executive director, Ms. Joy Alampay, and the Asia Society Philippines team, we'd like to say thank you to everyone, to our guests, and to our amazing moderator. I'm now passing the virtual mic to you, Carl. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Carl from Puma Podcast, and I think we're bringing in our guests now. I won't do too many intros. I'm sure that you could Google them, or you can see their credentials on on the event flyers. But we're just gonna jump in, have a very free flowing conversation, learn a little bit about the involvement that our guests had in the project, and think about Filipino creativity. Mahirap naman talaga to say what the impact is without doing like a big research paper on it. But I think at this point we have a sense of it, and with our guests today having worked on this project and having made huge contributions to its success, I think we're gonna learn a lot. So can we bring in Jojo and Herbert? Great.
Hello, guys.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
I want to just take a moment and be a fan of both of you. Just fanboy time. I'll start with a softball question, and it's how did you discover Trese? Had you been a fan and then you got to work on this, or was it was it something that was new to you and you were able to discover it through working on it? Let's start with you, Jojo.
Well, the first time I heard of it was when I was working with Jay Oliva on a project at DreamWorks, and he told me about Tanya Yusan and Shanti Hermain at Base approaching him with the idea of producing Trese. And he asked me, and I was like, wow, this is a dream come true, because it's Filipino, and I've never done any project that was solely Filipino. And when Jay started his own company, he wanted me to be art director on it. And that's when I saw the comic book. I fell in love with it. And then they flew us out to Manila to do research. And while there, we just studied the books and we brainstormed, and the writers and Jay brainstormed. And then I got to meet Kajo, and he got to tell me a little more about the comic book. So yes, that's how I was introduced, and that's how I fell in love with the project, and I'm still in love with it.
Thanks, Herbert.
Ako naman, okay. Two things lang. No? Number one, sobrang fan ako ng comics in general. Hindi lang ng ng Trese before. Kasi talagang comics collector na ako, bata pa lang ako. And parang hindi lang nakakatawa kasi hindi lang comics ng foreign, even yung mga wakasan and even yung mga funny comics na iniipon ko talaga, as in pag nakita mo yung parang kwarto ko, sobrang dami ko kasi nagkataon na yung kapitbahay namin taga Atlas before, so may collection sila ng comics, so nanghihingi ako everyday. So ayun, then number two, naging fan ako hindi lang ng Trese ni Budgetan, kasi pareho kami, agency people kami, no? So meron kaming project before, tinatawag kasi nung early days ko sa advertising, parang malaking issue yung pag nag-work ka sa advertising, your work dapat advertising lang. Si Budget Tan yung isa sa mga naging peg ko na you can do both. You can have passion sa advertising but at the same time, ginawa niya yung Trese habang nasa ahensya siya. So ganun din ako kasi, 'di ba, may banda ako Moonstar 88 and Six Cycle Mind. Gumawa ako ng project, meron akong monthly gig, tinatawag namin Lakihan Mo Logo. Wherein ayun yung break ng ng mga nasa ahensya. And isa sa mga major project namin yung After Six. After Six tawag namin. So yun. And si Budget Tan yung isa sa mga featured namin, advertising people. At alam niyo yung dala niya during that time, sabi niya, doon niya ni-launch yung, isa sa mga ni-launch niya, yung Trese. So, doon ako naging fan lalo ni Budget. Aside from doon sa Trese, fan ako as a person. si Budget, and sobrang bait ni Budget. Isa siya sa mga magagaling na tao na mabait. So, yun. That's the insight sa akin.
Kalek, I will just share as a younger comics creator, Budget talaga, he would encourage everyone to make comics. And what's interesting to me now is you're talking about how dapat separate yung lives. But I've worked with a lot of comics creators who come from advertising and this is their break. And it's their break because they were inspired by Budget. And it's Budget who told them, no, you can make comics. And so I feel like there's that reverberation of he's just a super nice guy who's made a really amazing comic, and now we're all inspired to make more work. Speaking of that inspiration, I'll jump over to one of the first things that I saw. Like my comic creator friends were nonstop posting about the backgrounds and how they were so meaningful to them. And Jojo, you hinted a little bit about having come here to do research. Can you talk more about that? Because it felt like seeing those for us here in the Philippines, it resonated so deeply that we were able to see our own kind of spaces and places. Can you talk about how you sort of reimagined those for animation?
Sure. But I want to preface that I did live in the Philippines for my college years. And even though I didn't travel everywhere because, I was just like back and forth to school, I went to UST. I spent a lot of time in traffic, and all I would look at were I'd be stuck in traffic and I'd see the telephone poles and the crazy amounts of wires. And then I'd see, the walls with the glass, kind of, it's the equivalent of barbed wire, but it's glass and cement and all these little nuances that are just so distinctive of the Philippines. And so and then when I went back to research, that's what I focused on. What are those distinctive nuances to the Philippines? And that's why there are those motifs in the backgrounds.
I love it, and I love the detail.
Pwede ba magdagdag doon, Carl?
Specific.
Go. Sobrang fan ako, Jojo, dun sa details na yun, all of those details. Kasi kinikilig ako. I'm sure the people na mga foreigner ngayon na nakapanood nun, they want to go to the Philippines and they want to see those details, no? And I can imagine kasi yung naging fan ako, well, we can say about Ghibli, di ba? Gusto kong pumunta ng Japan dahil sa ganda nung pagkakagawa ng Ghibli. At the same time, ganun yung effect na ginawa niya, Jojo, with the Philippines. So thank you so much. I mean,
thank you for saying that. Yeah. I appreciate it, Herbert.
And it's I will just as more compliments, no, but you know how Kajo's art style is so unique, and we know that it has to be different for animation. And you guys got it. You got it what it needed to be as an animated thing as opposed to as a comic book thing. It's really
Carl,
good.
Di ba nakakakilig nung nakikita, oh my God, MRT, ang ganda ng MRT. Kinikilig ako, and De La Rosa. De La Rosa, dyan ako naglalakad. Oh my God, ang ganda.
Well,
Really, really great.
a lot of credit goes to Tanya, who specifically took us there and said, take note of this, take note of the MRT, and of course Kajo's beautiful artwork. It's half the work. All I did was basically put color and say, hey, this has to be, more like moody or dirty or something, But yeah, Kajo and Tanya, a lot of credit goes to them.
And then before I ask Herbert my next question, I wanted to just jump in there and ask Jojo, what was your experience of the MRT? Was it working when you guys rode it? Because I know you guys took the whole train. You went through all the stations. How was it?
It was, and it was a pleasant experience. It was nice.
I'm sure it's Sunday. I'm sure it's Sunday or holiday or Pacquiao fight. I don't know, but
I feel like he was riding a ghost train version of the MRT.
Sunday naman probably or holiday.
Yeah, but even if it did break down, I wouldn't have minded. I would have gotten more insight. But it was really cool.
So one, there is that the cityscapes and how you portrayed them. And another thing for me was, so that insular building, which is in the show, there's an underpass there. And so I jog in the area and I came through and I had to stop. Like, whoa. And then it was this giant Trese mural with these digital like things of the Rogues Gallery. And I have to say, I've never seen any Filipino work given that kind of highlight.
I've never seen a marketing campaign that like really it like involved everything in with the animation, but it also it just like encompassed like the whole Philippines in that marketing campaign. A lot of credit goes to you guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. How was it, Herbert? Kwento naman dyan.
Sige. Kudos then to our client. That's the direction. That's the direction. It's nung dumating sa amin the project, as in excited kasi, excited lahat. And ang direction ng client is Filipino pride, which is true, 'di ba? Parang para tong Olympics, 'di ba? Na something really big. Ang description namin nga tapos ay lahat ng partners na kinakausap namin, ang direction namin, guys, parang Pacquiao fight to. 'Di ba? Kailangan manalo tayo dito. It's really that. So lahat nagbigay ng passion nila. As in, tuwan-tuwa ako kasi, sobrang daming piraso niya. Pag tinignan nyo, the pieces na ginawa namin, from the music video of Dharma Down, and the billboard, di ba? The hijacking. Pero may narrative yun lahat. Pero lahat naman yun, it's what, orchestrated din in direction ng client. Sabi niya, nung una, to tell you honestly, may yung mga first presentation namin, mga maliliit na magaganda. Pero the client instructed us, hindi, Herbert, we want something big out there. Ayun yung direction. Gusto namin yan, oh my God, ginawa yun ng Netflix para sa Trese. That's the direction. So yun yung nag-inspire sa amin. And malaking factor din dito, ang unang ginawa namin talaga, it's really asking the real fans, yung lahat ng Creatives Co fans, lahat ng accounts fans. Yun yung una naming hiningi. Ang second step, nag-immerse kami. Ang una naming ginawa, in-interview namin kagad si Budget, which is the best thing, no? So those things yung mga ginawa naming steps, and lahat nag-fall into right places, pero may mga problema din. I can tell more of it later. Sige.
Yeah, I think you put that very well. I loved what you said about also like the Olympics and how people come together for that. It's just how I felt about, the whole animation process. It was like, this is Filipino pride,
Yes.
And that's why I think from the opening sequences, the title, the end sequences, everything, everyone put their heart into it. And a lot of credit goes to the people and artists I work with too, who aren't Filipino. They adopted the culture and they actually, it's like they immerse themselves in it. So a lot of credit goes to them too for making it work out so well.
I want to just pick up on that question of Pinoy pride and just because we all felt it. And was that something that you put in the forefront of your mind as you were creating for both of you, as you went into the creative process and you built out your teams, and how much were you carrying this sense that this is not just I mean, obviously it's an adaptation of a great comic, but it's also this big shot for the Philippines. How because you know, as an artist, as a creative, sometimes you feel the weight of what you're doing. How was that, and how did you navigate?
Go Jojo first.
Okay. Thanks, Herbert. There's a lot of pressure because we want to impress the Philippines, and we know that Filipinos are critical. They'll nitpick and say this is not good enough, or this is not good enough. So we tried our best, and hopefully if we get another season, maybe we get a little more money, we could make it even that much better and include everything that they want. But yes, Carl, I'm not kidding. There's so much pressure. But that pushes you, that drives you, because I mean, I wouldn't have worked so hard if there wasn't that pressure, and I wouldn't have worked so hard if I wasn't passionate about it. So, I that's how everyone else felt on the whole project.
On Giggle side naman, I mean, I can say, Carl, parang siguro naman, like, siguro yung mga nakapanood nung manifesto ng Giggle, no? Medyo career kami even sa flyers, kahit flyers lang and calling card, we will do our best. What more dito? No? So, I guess, we're just doing our best rin. Best intent. The good thing lang, full support. May budget, binudgetan talaga ng Netflix, and even the cooperation din. Tapos kumuha ng perfect team, lahat talaga. Yun naman yung magandang nangyari dito. And yung pressure, it's sa advertising, natural yun. And wala lang, ginawa lang namin yung best namin. And ayaw lang namin maging yung pressure na yun maka-distract sa amin. It's more on inspiration na hindi, ginagawa natin to kasi gusto natin maganda yung mangyari dahil Filipino pride to. So, that's it.
I just wanted to tell the audience, if you want to ask questions, we're getting to a part where we'll jump into audience Q&A. So, post lang kayo sa comments. So, my next question is, from moving from here's the pressure of creating and of making sure that people know that it's happening and nakaabang. I mean, alam naman natin yung comics nerds have it marked on their calendar, but it was the job of Giggle to make sure that everyone knew that this was coming. And it comes out. What were the initial responses to each? I think, of course, like Giggle would have gotten responses before the actual show because people were already reacting. But
yeah, trailer pa lang.
Yeah. What were the responses, and how did that make you feel? Yeah, Herbert, you first.
I think, well, Herbert, I want to say something. A lot of the hype was because of the marketing and the Giggle campaign. It was amazing, and that's what I thought made it more exciting, the premiere. But Herbert, you go ahead.
Sorry, the question naman, it's really, sorry, nakalimutan ko yung question, Carl.
Yung reaction sa mga tao.
The reaction, okay.
From all of the,
sige.
From going from all of the pressure na binubuhat nyo. And then finally, ilabas na. And then nag-react mga tao.
Kasi I want to comment rin talaga, trailer pa lang. I mean, to be fair, trailer pa lang kinilig na. Nag-viral na siya, trailer pa lang. Because it's that big. Ganun kalaki siya. And ang ginawa lang naman ng Giggle, it's really to fan the flame. Di ba? And even the fans, the Trese group, sila yung naging major initiator din. And ito yung gustong-gusto ko, Carl and Jojo, na nangyayari. May umiiyak. Oh my God, nung nakita nila yung poster, ito pa lang, KV pa lang, wala pang nangyayari, naiiyak na sila. What more nung sinira namin? Sinira na, oh my God, may aswang dalag. Can you imagine? Ano nga hindi matapos yung saya kasi, oh my God, may trailer na. Oh my God, may KB, ang ganda ng KB. Tapos bigla nung sinira and we're talking about multo doing that. Nagkaagulo na. The good thing lang about the campaign, it goes beyond the fans. Then yun yung gusto ko nangyari. Which is, I can say, nag-viral siya, no? Kasi description naman ng virality, it's really when a campaign went beyond the target market. That's the good thing about this. Kasi even yung mga wala ngang alam sa Trese, walang sa sobra silang na-excite, which is the objective, no? Yun yung thing about this campaign eh. Yun naman yun. And natutuwa lang ako, the major reaction are really yung umiiyak sila, naiiyak sila sa campaign. Tapos, up Dharma Down pa, no? Ang galing din ng pagpili ng team nila Tanya with Up Dharma Down. Ginawan lang namin sila ng music video na malupit din, given the situation, di ba? So, ang front and center naman dito is really the essence ng ng Trese, which is bringing the folklore sa city. So, yun lang din naman ginawa ng Gigil eh. In-amplify lang namin kung ano yung essence nung show. So, that's it. I mean, siguro kinilibutan lang sila, kinilig sila kasi hindi lang nasa comics. Nakikita nila sa billboard. Naramdaman nila sa billboard. Naramdaman nila sa launch. So, yun. Really, sobra kaming grateful na nabigyan kami ng chance na gawin ito. Pero feeling namin kahit sinong ahensya kaya itong gawin.
Well said.
How about you, Jojo? How were the initial reviews or the initial feelings when the show came up and people started reacting?
Oh, it's so many positive ones, and I was just like, yeah, it's so many positive ones. But then I start to see the negative ones start to pop up, and I can't help but focus on those. That's one of my problems. So I kind of like remove myself after a while, but then it's like I got other work to do for now until hopefully a second season. So there's not a lot of time for me to like relish what we've done. I could only say that I'm just so proud to be a part of it, and that I want to express upon everyone that with Jay Oliva and Lex+Otis, it's the best of the best, and I hope we can do another season.
Yeah, I understand that fly in the ointment feeling. It's a weird artistic impulse. You find the worst comment that someone can give you.
Exactly.
And that's what you're like,
Being an artist, even if when I was like drawing, like I hate people looking over my shoulder and because I know the criticism is going to happen. So I'm like, that's just me, People like
But
Jay. Yeah.
But the critics naman, I mean, I would say, in the essence of all artistry or lahat ng output, even sa music, pag wala kang hater, ibig sabihin, hindi ka pa sikat.
Mm-hmm.
That's the time na I imagine, ang galing na ng Trese kasi nagkaroon na ng mga, the hate part. Kasi nag-explode siya eh.
Yeah.
So, that's the thing. Yun yung gusto ko kasi ganun ang perception namin sa Gigil. We expect haters, we expect something, they'll talk something bad about yung output namin kasi bago. And never mo ma-perfect. Hindi mo naman ma-please lahat eh. Pag pinlis mo lahat, pangit yan. I can imagine. Pag walang nagsabi na pangit yung isang bagay or walang na-criticize doon, ibig sabihin, na-please mo lang lahat. Diba? And it's just any ordinary things, no? Gusto namin yung medyo naiihi, sorry sa term, pero gusto namin yung hindi comfortable. Hindi comfortable yung mga clients or hindi comfortable yung iba. Pero tama. Ganun kami mag-judge ng output namin on our side.
Thanks for saying that, Herbert. That makes me feel better, and maybe if I have that outlook, I can move forward.
20 years na kasi sa sa banda, sa music industry. So pag that's the thing, yun talaga yun. Pag wala kang hater, hindi ka pa made.
Yeah.
I feel my contribution as a person from the arts is, if you make something that everyone likes, it's like you made vanilla ice cream.
Yes.
It's pleasant, it's good, it's fine, but no one's gonna talk about it. No one's gonna say,
Yes.
"Did you try that amazing vanilla ice cream?" It's vanilla, right?
Yeah.
And so you really have to push, and you have to polarize, and you have to test where people are.
I can
And
imagine if you
concept.
if Jojo, if yung mga critics, kung sinunod nyo sila, I'm sure there are people na hindi naman matutuwa or they'll be against naman doon. So ganun din talaga. You just have to do something new. And I can attest, even the name of Gigil dati. Yung name na Gigil sobrang daming resistance doon.
Really?
Gigil? Yeah, Gigil. Ngayon, sinasabi nila, ang cool naman ng Gigil.
Yeah.
Ang cool naman ng Gigil. Ba't
Yeah.
naisip yan? Pero to tell you honestly, before pa siya naging cool, Gigil? Baka bastos yan. Anything na bago, hindi, ang point ko lang, anything na bago, may magre-resist. So expect those things. Yan.
That's a really good point.
I would think even just the whole trajectory of it, Filipino comics, at a certain point, you had people saying it's dead. Diba? As soon as I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, people were saying wala nang comics, wala naman eh. And then you get this, and suddenly everybody's like, oh, there's so much here.
Galing.
Diba? There's so much here, and this is just one, right? We know that this is the tip of the iceberg of a huge comics community na maraming bagong kwento.
Share ko lang doon, regarding doon, Carl, Jojo, the thing of, wala na, patay na. Lahat naman, hindi naman talaga namamatay. Nagta-transform lang siya. Nag-change lang. The comics, hindi yan namatay ever. Nag-a-adapt lang. And even the music, di ba? May time na nung lumabas yung digital, wala, patay na music industry. Patay na banda, patay. Hindi, nag-iba lang yung form. And those people na nagre-resist, sila yung nawawala ng change. So, the thing lang, yun, never nawala ang comics. Nandyan lang sila. And nag-iiba lang ng form. And ngayon, Netflix, yun na, yung mga ganyang format na nangyayari.
Yeah, that's very well put. I totally agree. And there was a long time that comics was just like, before with all the famous Filipino artists like Redondo and Alex Nino, all of them, then it changed and then it just disappeared for a while. But with Trese, with what Budget and Kajo did, it's like a resurgence of a new kind of like more mature kind of genre. And I was just like amazed to see how it morphed, like you said, Herbert. It changed into something different, and hopefully, with the popularity of Trese, more comics like this will come out, and who knows, maybe even more like Filipino exposure around the world.
I think one thing I can share is coming from the comics community, you hear people say comics is dead, and all you want to say to them is, you're just not reading the right comics. You're not going to Comic-Con, because 10,000 people go to Comic-Con and
sobrang dami.
They buy all these comic books, right? And then same thing, I think with OPM, laging may OPM is dead. There's not, and we know it's not. It's thriving. It's just you're not listening to the right music sources, and you're not going to the right gigs if you think those things. And so I do think it's a really exciting moment for the Filipino creative. I will question. I guess I always
golden age nga to, Carl. Golden age nga
to. It's a golden age of creativity.
Yes.
And I think we need to see Netflix as not necessarily the be all and end all. Like, my work has to be in Netflix. It's one of many platforms that we can access so that the world can see how good the work is. I have one like off the cuff question. It's, can each of you share a story that you haven't told yet? Like, it's something that doesn't pop up in the interviews, but you think is fun that people should hear.
Oh, okay. There are some billboards. There are some billboards in Trese that say, "It must have come out the top of my pants," which is a
Oh
joke.
my.
Which is a joke we played on someone on our crew, where a friend sat on a bag full of pudding, and it squirted all over the floor, and our friend thought it was poo poo, and so the friend who sat on it said it must have come out the top of my pants, and that was just a running joke, and we put it in the show.
What episode? What episode? Oh, we have to find it.
You'll see it in some
That's nice.
on some
Ang
billboard
ganda nun ah.
reverse.
That's such a
yeah.
great inside joke Easter egg.
Oh man. Sorry, Will. Anyway.
Ako, 2 stories siguro, no? Ito never pa to, baka hindi alam to outside the Trese team, no? There's a major activation pa dapat kami. Aside from those sobrang dami, di ba? The video. May isa pang major na hindi natuloy. Akala nila lahat swabe. But the one major talaga is dapat may MRT activation. It was already approved. We have already the budget. Iko-cover namin yung buong MRT bus with the zombies. With the aswang. Yun. And bloody as in bloody, parang the scene. So, yun, hindi yun natuloy. Number 2, para kaming minulto sa lahat ng activation namin. Lahat ng, even the film, the aswang, yung aswang na video na pinalabas namin, hindi yun yung supposedly nalalabas. It was the test shot. Testing yun. It was the day before the actual shoot, pero bumagyo. So our director, si Direct Victor, nandun nagmamakaawa na kasi hindi raw sila makaakyat dun sa billboard kasi bumabagyo. So kudos to the 3D animator. So lahat yun 3D na. The aswang who went up to sa billboard. Walang na yun. Test shoot lang yun. And some CGs. So yun, those things lang na hindi pa namin nakukwento. Akala nila lahat okay. And even sa Up Dharma Down shoot namin, yung actual day, naputol yung crane, hindi kami one shot yun. So those things, parang ang kwentuhan namin ng mga client, parang minumulto kami. Parang may nag-i-stop talaga sa bawat project namin. And even the billboard, di ba yung billboard, yung sinira, hindi namin masira dahil bumabagyo. There's a typhoon during that day. Pero nag-work for us yon dahil the billboards have to, parang kailangan nilang ibaba eh. So sa baba namin nasira, tapos inakyat namin. So akala nila, walang nakakita ng actual, yung defacing of the billboard dahil bumagyo that time. So it works then for us. Pero yun, yung para kaming minumulto every now and then.
So all of our internet issues here, kasama yun sa pagmumulto.
Oo.
So I'm getting a bunch of questions just that are all along the lines of when is season 2? And and so I feel like we just need to address that if you have any information, Jojo.
I don't.
Okay.
No.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. And then in connection to season 2, there's someone in the comments, Herbert, saying, how do you surpass the last campaign?
Yeah.
Diba? If you've done all this stuff there, how do you now one up yourself?
Well, good thing din tinanong yan, no? Kasi ganyan naman yung gigil eh. That's the question, no? Inaano namin, ano ba ang gagawin lang naman namin, we will amplify what will Trese Season 2 will offer, no? So yun naman, we will based on truth kung ano yung totoo. Which is, binase rin namin sa totoo kung ano yung totoo yung the Season 1. So definitely, yun yung objective. That will be the objective. Lagpasan yung huling ginawa. That's the thing. Yeah, pero excited kami. I mean, probably go beyond OOH. Ano pa yung hindi nagagawa? Kasi the OOH thing, yun yung unang tanong namin kasi sa Gigil, ano pa ba yung hindi ginagawa? Kasi kung ulitin lang namin yung last namin ginawa, wala eh. Walang effect yun. So that's the first thing. Ano pa ba yung hindi natin nagagawa?
And then, Jojo, you were mentioning earlier that with more budget and with more, with a season 2, there would be other things. Are there certain characters that you wish were in it, or like
Oh yeah,
is there technology that you wish? Yeah.
oh yeah, definitely. There's like so many characters, like the madam, that character, and I'm really excited for that to be portrayed in animation. Also, like so many more mythological creatures that we want to cover, and areas of the Philippines. That would be nice. Different areas.
I feel
Yun
like
yung
that's
wish.
go Herbert.
Carl, yun yung wish ko upon yung sa creation pa lang, during the creation pa lang, sana part na rin yung gigil para we can see na kagad, uy, ito okay ito. Parang sobrang synergized. Di ko alam, baka may way yun in sa future na pwedeng collab. Hindi naman namin papakalaman yung ginagawa nila Jojo, but at least may uy, baka pwede kaming may gawin dyan na may ilag kami sa actual billboard. Di ko alam. I mean, something na hindi pa nagagawa. Yun naman yung dream namin.
What was the time runway that you had between, here's the information about the project and then all of the things that you guys launched?
In Gigil?
Mm-hmm.
We had more than 2 months. So yun naman, almost 3 months preparation for it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Sobrang crunch time yun. Pero yeah, kailangan
so, wala
talaga
tulugan, ganun.
buy-in talaga with all, and even hindi natin nabanggit the ABS-CBN takeover.
Yeah.
That's the biggest. That's the hardest
Yeah.
one. Supposedly, as in katakot-takot na rejection na yun. Sorry, I have to say this. Pero hindi ko alam kung ma-record. Matagal na yun. Matanding rejection yun. Rejection, again, rejection, game. Hindi kasi kami humihinto. And we're talking to the right people, the digital team of, kudos to ABS-CBN digital team din. Sila yung nag-push when we presented sila Mattel. I mean, I have to commend them. Kasi sila yung babalik, Herbert, hindi pa na-approve, pero don't worry. Gagawin namin ng paraan. Kasi they have to see how big this is. No? Yun naman yung kailangan mabenta. Makita nila pag na-miss nyo to, sayang. Ganun naman, the thing sayang pag na-miss mo tong opportunity na to. And totoo naman, hindi naman kami nang bobola. Totoo tong phenomenal to, so we need to ride and to take care of it rin. Yun naman yun. To be sincerely taking care rin dun sa IP na to. No, na kailangan, ito yung una So dapat marami pa tayong sumunod dito.
But I mean, what does that even look like when you go to ABS na, hey guys, by the way, palitan namin yung logo ng building nyo. Like, what is that?
Maraming nung unang mga time, sinabi nila maraming bawal, maraming hindi pa pwede. Sacred yun The building sacred yun.
Yeah, exactly.
But we have to tell them na talaga to. Para sa bayan to Kumbaga hindi naman to for the sake na kung ordinary lang tong film, okay lang naman na pero hindi. Pilipinas ang nito, 'di ba? Pride natin to, which is ang galing kasi buti na lang fan yung isa sa mga Lopez, naging fan pala, nabigyan pala ni budget, sabi niya. And good news din, yung mga tao sa ABS-CBN naging katrabaho din ni budget sa Macan before, so sila din nag-buy. I mean, sobrang daming nagtrabaho talaga. Ayun, sobra talagang nakakatuwa kasi we make things happen. That's the thing naman ang dali naman mag-isip ng creative making things happen, doon nagkakatalo.
It's getting that buy-in because for something that big, and a property that's, I mean, it is essentially defacing their building so that it will move towards your campaign, and yet they were able to get into it.
Carl, kailangan namin ibenta yung condo, yung drawing. Can you imagine paano nagbebenta ng condo? Ano pa lang to? Hindi pa yun, di ba? Hindi pa build yung condo. So, ito yun. During that time, we have to sell. Pero may drawing na yung condo. Napakita namin how big is Trese. So, ganun ang job ng advertising din. Hindi lang mag-create, how to sell ideas. Yun din naman. Yun din naman yung tulong na binibigay ng team na kailangan mag-buy-in lahat. That's it. Yan.
And then, I want to throw a question to Jojo about this concept of buy-in and getting people to kind of go into an idea? Because you said that your team really went into the whole Filipino idea. I'm wondering, what does it look like when you have a studio that's done a lot of international work and then you bring them a Filipino concept? How do they react to that, and how do you tell them, no, this is gonna be cool?
Yeah. Well, they didn't understand. They didn't understand a lot of it, like what's going on, and then I just explain what it's really like. It's nothing like America, you know. It's okay. Everyone talks about the traffic, and everyone was saying, "Hey, why isn't there enough traffic?" The truth is, we didn't have enough money to create all those cars, and for the animation people in Korea to duplicate all those cars. That's why there's no traffic. But I told them, normally there's tons of traffic here, and then what I explained to them about the ghosts and the creatures, and they go, "Oh, okay, that's kind of neat." And I'm trying to tell them, no, like I have lots of family members and me myself who have seen ghosts in the Philippines, as well as, you know, have heard stories of all these creatures. To them, this is a lot of them. This is kind of real. And then, you know, I'd explain to them, oh, you know, they would ask, isn't this enough telephone wires? And I'm like, no, 100 more. 100 more. They said, you know, it's like, is it really this dirty on the street? And I'm like, yes, please, you put more dirt and more trash, please. I know Manila's cleaned up a lot, but I still remember it, you know, a lot of water damage, a lot of, you know, trees everywhere in the city, believe it or not. And they're like, yeah, this is in the city. I was like, yes, and then you'll find a tree right there in the middle of the, you know, sidewalk. So it was hard to explain because they just aren't used to it. But
are those Japanese? What are they usually?
Well, character designers half Caucasian, half Korean. William New, William New's
first world country.
Yeah, and Tim Ridley is born and raised in America, and all over. Jay Olivas or Jay Hong's from China, and Eileen Liu is from China. It's all mixed crew, but we all came together, and you know, it's like, luckily I kind of know what the Philippines looks like and feels like, so I was able to guide them.
I just want to follow up on this UST connection, because it's an interesting one that you had. How crucial were those college years for you, like to have had that experience here? And I think it's also something that it was specifically UST, because UST is so urban, but it has those trees inside of it. How much did that contribute to your ability to? Yeah, España, exactly. In the
Baha, traffic.
Everything. I was born and raised here in America, and then, you know, we'd go back and forth. But then when I lived there in college, it was like, wow, like I was so depressed to leave here because I left a lot of my friends. But I wanted to go to the Philippines for college. And the thing is, it's so different that you can't help but notice so much more, I think. Like, you know, taking the jeepney every day and, you know, getting the beefsteak, you know, at lunch, and, you know, playing pool and, you know.
In the Pitan.
Yeah.
What batch ka, Jojo? I mean, tumasyon din ako eh. And CFAD, I'm fine arts din in UST.
Yes. Yeah, commercial arts.
Mm-hmm. Wow, amazing.
Do they still have a commercial arts program there?
Last batch sa batch ko. So your years, like a year or 2 years ahead sa akin sa UST.
Yeah, I'm pretty old, so
yeah. But Tomashan is really, there's grit, there's ano
Yeah.
there's buildings and
Yeah.
ano culture talaga, cultural. Something really.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. It was an amazing experience in college there. But I I I couldn't believe how much like an American dollar. Like I would get like an allowance from my mom, like $50, 50 American dollars, and then I would be able to last a whole month lavishly.
Yeah.
$50, and I was like, wow. Now I know, it's so expensive now. It's almost no difference in American dollars. But yeah, that was really fun at UST.
Because I'm thinking now, because I'm also Filipino American, where I grew up in the US, and I've stayed here, and this really provides a lot, because I know like Budget is from here now. He's over at Lego in Denmark, and Tanya is from the Philippines, but she has these collaborations in Jay, and you are from the US, and so what I'm hearing then is the ability for this to have this level of impact is also because the people behind it have strong roots here. So it's not like people from, who have no connection to the Philippines showing up and saying, let's tell some Filipino stories, right? And it's also not just Filipinos trying to get people from other countries to notice us. It's actually like all of these things coming together, right?
Yes, I totally agree with you, Carl. And yeah, a big part of that is kind of wanting to teach other people our culture and express to them, what it is to be like a Filipino, and like what our culture is. And it's that, and us having such deep roots to the Philippines, it's like it all came together with Trese. It's like we can show that and also express the roots and everything else. Yeah. Good
So
point,
I'm gonna address a question here, is yung pwedeng ipasok na new characters kung sakaling magka season 2, and I'll answer that in advance. It's the traffic in Manila will then be budgeted in, so you'll have more cars, you'll have the legitimate traffic.
Yeah.
And then there's one here: were there Filipino composers involved in creating the musical score?
Yeah, the Kiners, it's a father and his 2 sons. They're half Filipino, or the kids are half Filipino. His wife is Filipino. And he goes to the Philippines a lot and has a lot of connections in the music area there too.
And then is budget a consideration? Not budget hand, but budget the money. Is budget a big consideration for campaigns like Trese?
Okay, to be fair, sige, ito yung kind of campaign na the client is asking ideas, then he'll find a way to make it happen. So, medyo hindi lahat naman ganun, no? Ito yung, I want something big. Okay, I'll find money for that. So, really, it's really heaven, medyo ganun. And we're lucky to have those kind of clients na they'll find a way to make things happen. So, yan. So, yun. Good news kasi full support. I mean, ang galing, no? I'm so happy that Netflix sobrang trusted the content na worth it bigyan ng ganong attention. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Netflix.
Yeah.
Dylan at Netflix. Hi, Dylan.
Yeah.
Oo nga, sana nanood sila, Steph and Daphne, those people, and Cre. Actually, sobrang saya. And I remember the first time we parang nagkita-kita kami in one Zoom. Wala sila Jojo kasi they already done parang tapos na yung work. But there's Tanya, there's Netflix, there's Gigil, and other people. Basta sobrang dami namin, and we're really excited. And yun, sobrang saya.
Yeah, because I think what it really shows is Netflix believed in the work.
Yes.
Diba? They believed
Sincerely.
in the profit. Yeah. Diba? And they're like, just make it happen, because people, I had the same feeling. People need to know that this exists. Diba? And you guys did that work. As we're running on an hour, I just wanted to give one last question. And it's, is there something that I didn't get to ask you that you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, first off, thanks for having me, and it's really nice to meet you guys. I I'm such a fan of the campaign too. Thanks, Herbert. It's just
Thank you, Jojo.
and all your people. It was amazing. And as far as asking, something, I'm just very thankful and very proud of the Philippines, and hope we can all come together and maybe find some way of expressing more of our culture. And even if we don't get a season 2, hopefully something else pops up, something creative. But hopefully we do get a season 2.
For us, Gigil naman, questions, wala naman. We're really grateful, Carl, to see Jojo din, no? Finally, si Budget yung nakakausap ko. I mean, we're messaging parang every now and then, and I can see kasi how trusting si Budget sa team. Sabi niya, hindi daw siya nakialam on your side, no, Jojo?
Yeah.
Ganun siya katiwala, kinataya niya with the whole team. And that's the thing about this campaign. Lahat may tiwala sa isa't isa. And that's the key. Kasi kumuha ka ng best people, tingin ko, and pagkakatiwalaan mo sila to be themselves, no? Kung ano yung gagawin nila. And tingin ko isa yun sa key success ng campaign na to. Yun yung kung it's really the trust, tiwala dun sa titles, tiwala sa kliyente, tiwala sa agency, and na mangyayari to. So yun yung tingin ko what's the best lesson dito sa nangyaring to. Yep.
Yeah, so well put, Herbert. Thank you so much for saying that. I totally agree with you.
Thanks, guys. It's been so great talking to you. I'm going to invite Siege Tantenko, the head of comms of PumaPodcast, to give our closing remarks.
Hi, everybody. I just want to say thank you to Jojo, to Herbert, and to Carl for the discussion. I'm one with everybody who's watching on the stream and saying that nakaka-proud to watch the series, nakaka-proud to see the campaign, and nakaka-proud to hear about the work that goes into it. So one of the things that really stuck with me from your discussion was the comparison to the Olympics and how this is about national pride and it's about Filipino excellence. Now, if I may extend that Olympic metaphor, our athletes have had to overcome so much to get the support that they need. And now we're finally at the point where we can say, it's not enough that we support our athletes after they succeed. We need to support them so that they succeed. And the same is true for our Filipino creatives. Trese in its original incarnation, Trese as a Netflix series, and Trese's marketing campaign, these all prove that Filipinos can create amazing work. What we need is opportunity. Clients need to be willing to take risk. People like you and me, you're watching on the stream right now, we need to give that opportunity to Filipino artists to occupy space in our mind. So if you're watching this on your phone or your laptop, wherever, go out there, go online and discover a new comic. Find Filipino artists on social media, follow them, hype their work. Maybe you're a decision maker in an agency or in a company that is going to engage in agency and someone comes to you with an idea. As Herbert said earlier, buy in, magtiwala ka. And let's open those doors and let Filipino creatives bust through. So I want to leave you now with words of Heidelin Diaz after she won the Olympic gold medal. Akala natin imposible, pero kaya ng Pinoy. Let's just remember that, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Siege. And thanks to everyone for coming, spending some time with us, listening to the stories. Thanks to Asia Society Philippines for putting this all together, and for Gigil and PumaPodcast for their support. And thank you, Jojo, for being here. Thanks, Herbert. And thanks, everyone.
Thank you.